So, welcome to the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. The Guitar Shop is officially open. If you're new to this guitar shop or any other guitar shop, make sure your hands are clean before you go in and enter with a smile for the staff. Guitar shops are the guitar player's mecca where you can try out gear and learn about new gear. Daniel B. here. I'm a G4V Cavart's virtual chapter guitar instructor and your host of this, the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. This shop wouldn't be complete without our great Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop guitar gurus. Mr. John DeMarco, say hi, John.
Hey, everybody.
And Mr. Michael O'Connell, how you doing, Mike?
Well, good morning from Seattle, Washington.
Our special guest today is actually someone who was my mentor for guitar instruction. He was I shadowed Randy before I got my first student. This is Mr. Randy Bushee. Say hi, Randy.
Hello, hello, hello.
Randy is Randy has been a part of a number of guitar shop events, and including the inception when we started Guitar Shop back 2.5 years ago, actually.
I remember having you over at the academy, and we had a tour at the aircraft.
Right, yeah, and also we went to the Warbird Museum that's up there in your neck of the woods. Randy's just north of me in Titusville, Florida, just above Port Canaveral, or Cape Canaveral, actually.
About 10 miles.
NASA. And also, Randy, there's a bunch of monkeys running around up there, right? Because of Johnny Weissmuller. Johnny Weissmuller used to, or took over a zoo that was up there in Titusville back in the day. And it was known for animal escapes. In fact, an elephant actually got hit on US 1 there, Randy.
Yeah.
If you didn't know about that. So there was a lot of Tarzan movies that were done here in Florida at Ocala and another location. Let's see, we had Silver Springs and Ocala and another spring up around, I think it was around Gainesville. I'm not 100% certain on that. Maybe Tallahassee.
All the aerospace companies are here in Titusville. I mean, Lockheed, you name it. They're about.
Right. Yeah, we got a ton of stuff going on right here where Randy and I are located. So let's get on with this. So please bear in mind that our discussions are based on experience, opinions, skills, and knowledge. Every effort is taken to verify any information that we put forth. Any reference to brands is for demonstration purposes only. We at the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop have no affiliation with any of the brands we mention or use. So today we're going to put it out there, and that's your voice, that is, with a PA or a sound system. Whether you're a solo performer or you're in a band, getting the vocals out there can so that they can compete with an instrument or instruments in case of being in a band, and that requires some amplification with speakers and a microphone. Also, there is enhancements. Well, I should say, yeah, there could be enhancements. You're going to want delay, reverb, EQing, and we're going to get to a bunch of this today. But this is one of those subjects that we could do probably 2 or 3 parts on. So this is just the beginning. So let's see. Michael, you're going to be getting to the EQ part here in a little bit. So this is where we begin our look at what is the right setup for your needs, more or less. We're going to be like a buyer's guide today. And what I wanted to do was share some slides with y'all. And as soon as I can find my share button, I'll do this. Let me go full screen here. All right. And it for y'all that are of age, meaning above retirement age, y'all might remember some of these. Either you saw it in clubs or you may have seen them in concerts, for that matter. So let me start out with this one. Hold on, let me share this. Where we go. So this is what we used to have to deal with back in the day. This is a PV standard. The columns, they didn't weigh much to carry around, but they took up space in your trunk or whatever you were trying to get to the gig with. And a very simplistic amplifier. And I'm gonna, let me find that amplifier. I think I got a picture of that one. This was your PA amp, your mixer, your equalizer, your effects. That was it. And you'll notice that it was all 1/4 inch. It wasn't an XLR balanced in or out. At best, you could get your vocals out there. Some people tried to put their amplifier or, mic a speaker from their amps, but really didn't work too well. So it was at best enough to get your vocals out there. And I don't even think this was 300 watts. Michael, do you remember this one?
I can't give you specs on it. Yeah.
But you remember seeing them.
Oh, much more than I'd like to.
Yeah, right? Okay. Now my old band, let's see, let me show you that Shure. This was another system that was really popular, was the, there it is. This is the Shure Vocal Master or Voice Master setup. Sometimes I've seen guys or bands that had used all 4 of these columns. It used to add a little bit more fidelity, but again, that amplifier, and I got a picture of that. Didn't give you much to play with. As you can see. And later on, I know that John is going to be showing us some of the more modern equipment. Now, my old band that I had in Massachusetts, we were together for about 10, 12 years, something like that. We used to have these to cart around. These are Voice of the Theaters. It's a 15 with a horn in the bottom. And they weighed about 75 pounds apiece. Henceforth, they were on wheels. And then there was another type we used to use, actually a sound company that used to help us out. We used to have a company that came around with 4 of these on each side. Or not 4 total, 2 on each side. And they had a tweeter box on top of that. And that was about close to a 2,000 watt system, stereo. Now, we played in clubs that could go from 700 square feet to about 2,000 square feet or even bigger. We have played some 3,000, some bigger venues. So, it gets loud. Then there were these that we had, and these, I just saw this pair, believe it or not. These are the Bose 802s. And these were amazing speakers. We used to use these with the Voice of the Theater setup that we had. And let me show you. I got a picture of what they looked like under that cover. I think I have it. Maybe I don't. Yeah, there it is. That's what they looked like on the inside. Those are 4.5-inch speakers, but they would handle, I think each box 240 watts, but they weren't full range. They were more upper mids to high frequencies, which Michael will be explaining to us at the end of near the end of all this. So let me see where we're at on the. I got to get my outline.
Why do I imagine, Dan, you got like 18,000 window tabs open up on your computer?
Oh my God! Yes.
Let's all wave so Dan can see us in between transitions. Follow the voices. Follow the voices.
That's what we used to deal with back in the day. I mean, really heavy equipment. And a column that you're going to see in a little bit with Michael was the columns that we had that were available that we could get. All right, so this is where we begin our look, and I'm going to turn it over to Mr. John DeMarco, and he's going to have a little more of a present day presentation.
Yeah.
To you, John.
Yeah, thank you. We were talking yesterday when we were rehearsing about all the equipment we had to haul back in the day, and things have changed dramatically for the better. Things are much more portable and more lightweight in general. Just so you know, what I'm doing here is I'm going to go through sort of a range of prices, stuff that I pulled off of Amazon and Sweetwater. I wasn't so much chasing brand names as capabilities and what's out there. So you'll recognize some brand names, obviously, but I'm just going to talk a little bit about, what you'd probably want to look at if you're going to invest in a PA. And then I think Randy's going to talk to us about what they just invested in for his band. And then Michael is going to wind it up and go super deep on, how you use it and what his system is. The first thing I want to get you familiar with is there's kind of these active, passive, and DSP. You'll see this all over the web. Active PA speakers, they've got an amplifier built in, and almost everything, I think now, that's portable, the amplifiers are usually built in, one less box that you have to carry. A passive PA, on the other hand, is something where you've got speakers, but the amplifier is actually somewhere else. And it's kind of like those old columns that we were just looking at. And you will see these in large stage situations and football stadiums, etc., and that kind of thing. And then the last concept here is DSP, which stands for digital signal processing. So back in the day, everything was kind of analog and manual, right? You had to tweak all the knobs to get the high signals to the high, to the tweeters, and the low signals to the woofer, that kind of thing. DSP kind of automatically does all that for you, and what it does is it takes the sound you're inputting, turns it into a digital signal, routes it off to where it's going to need to go, and then changes it back to an analog signal for the speakers. And so that's my easy way of thinking about how it works. When it comes time to what am I going to buy? There's personal PAs, there's sort of medium-sized PAs, and then full-scale PAs. We're not going to really talk about full-scale. Those, again, are like something that would be in a football stadium or a very large concert venue or something like that. Medium-sized PAs, you can think of that as the kind of stuff that gets put into a school auditorium or something that size. And it usually has a pair or more of speakers on either side of the stage, and then usually monitor wedges so that the musicians or the vocalists can hear themselves. And that's sort of going away because of in-ear monitoring now. There's a lot of very specialized in-ear monitoring that you'll see anybody who's out there playing where they, and sometimes you actually see them pulling them out of their ears because they don't feel like they're working right. We're going to stick mostly to personal PAs today, stuff for small venues, and maybe a little bit larger. And then on the right-hand side there, you see like these portable PA systems. They're kind of all-in-one solutions. They often have built-in mixers and Bluetooth. In fact, most of the ones that we're going to look at today do have that. We have column PA systems, and I'm going to look at some cheap ones and a little bit more expensive ones. And then Michael's got a JBL he's going to talk you through about. And then there's point source PAs, and it's really, usually it's just a woofer and a tweeter. A big, speaker and a little speaker, and it's, usually on stands or stacked. And it's pretty much directional sound, right? It doesn't actually cover the room as much as maybe you'd like. So the questions I would ask myself is, so where are you going to use this? Is it going to be indoors or outdoors? Are you going to try to do both in one system? How large is the venue and the crowd? I actually came across an article on deciding how many watts you need based on how many people are going to be absorbing the sound.
No way.
Yeah, it was an interesting read. I'm not sure I buy it, but it was scientifically done. So there you go. And then it's about what type of music will you be playing, and then how many inputs do you need. So back in the day when I was doing rock and roll and jazz and that kind of stuff, we had those speakers like we were looking at earlier. And usually what we did was all the voices went into the PA system, and then you kind of had to deal with the drums, the bass, and the guitar amps in accordance to that. And of course, there was never-ending arguments from the singers that we were too loud, and he couldn't get any louder. So it's a little different today, but sort of the same thing applies. I don't want to get too deep into this, but decibels, watts, and perceived volume is a big thing to think about. So you'll notice that in the first line of any ad for a PA system on different sites, they always tell you how many watts it is, and that's a little deceiving because, as we all know, you can have a 10-watt guitar amp that makes a lot of noise. The difference between a 10-watt and a 20-watt is a difference, but it's not as big a difference as you think, because what the math says, it's the 3 decibel rule. And that is when you double the power, say from 50 watts to 100 watts, the result is only a 3 decibel increase in volume. And when I say that, that means you can perceive the difference, but it's not like you're doubling the sound that's coming at you. So the perceived volume is probably more important. And so a 10 decibel increase is generally is perceived as doubling the loudness. Now, one of the interesting things is sound works the same way that light does, which means every time you double the distance away from the speakers, the sound drops by half. So, if you're right up next to the speaker, of course, it's extremely loud. As you move back, say you move back 10 feet, okay, it's maybe still doable. You move back 20 feet and you've usually lost about half the decibels. It's actually a mathematical formula. Now, the room you're in determines some differences. The dynamics of the system make some differences, etc. So the speaker sensitivity is really important. And so, there's some very scientific measurements around that. And so I don't want to confuse you with all of this, but I think it's just some things to kind of think about depending on if you're getting a really high-end system. Talk to an expert in the shop about what you're trying to do, where you're trying to do it, and how much space you need to fill up. So let's just start at what I'd call on the bottom. It says it's 120 watts. I think this came off of Amazon. It has 2 inputs, say for a mic and a guitar. You can actually play from your phone. via USB or an SD card, and they're saying it's good for churches and bands and parties. I'm going to tell you that there was nowhere in the description or the specs what anything else about this system other than the wattage. Okay, so we don't know. It's probably a single speaker, and it's probably not as great as you'd like it to be. Again, if you had it in front of you, you could play with it, and it would tell you something. So I would probably personally stay away from something like this. The next step up, though, is I'm calling it a basic. It's 200 watts, and it's a reasonable price, right? $309. And essentially, if you look on the right-hand side there, you can see kind of the same thing, 2 inputs, either XLR or quarter inch. And you can control your mids and your bass and your volume on each channel. And, might be something to look at depending on what you're trying to do. Notice on the bottom here, I put 60 hertz to 20 kilohertz. That's basically the dynamic range of the system under the best case scenario. And Michael will be talking more around what you kind of need to get a good drum sound or a good guitar sound or a good voice and what ranges those are in. And I know we've talked about that measurement when we've talked about microphones in the past too. So the next step up in my mind, if I was going to go out and look, and we all love the Sparks, right? They've got a couple of offerings that are reasonably priced, and you can see on the right-hand side there, a couple of inputs, some outputs. The big thing here is, they're saying it's a 4-channel. One channel is almost always in these situations devoted to a phone or an iPad or Bluetooth or something like that to run a soundtrack behind. And then, of course, since it's a Spark, you've got a whole bunch of amplifiers for the guitar that you can have happen. So an interesting product in my mind. And again, if you look down here below, 45 to 20,000 hertz or 20 kilohertz. This is a nice range for something as small as this is. That's only 65 watts, but again, it might be louder than you think it is. And the one thing I'll point out with this one is it does have a 4-channel mixer, but you only can use it from the app, according to what I read. So you have to have that cell phone there and run everything through that to make this work. Now, the big brother of this is what they call the Spark Live, and again, it's a little more money, more wattage, 150 watts compared to 65, and it's pretty much the same specs, 45 to 20 kilohertz. And if you look at it, the picture on the far right is showing you basically a couple of speakers and some baffles. And so they've done some scientific design here to get, I'm going to say, more frequencies out of this single cabinet. And I've actually seen this live, and it's actually pretty impressive, considering it's something that you can throw in a backpack, or carry with a handle and walk away with. So, pretty interesting. And again, you get not only the mixer, but you can also use the physical knobs to set your mix. It's 4 channels. Again, one devoted for, a soundtrack from a phone or a tablet. And then, again, as I mentioned, and I should also mention battery powered if you want it to be.
Nice that it can go on a stand too, John.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Now we're going to talk about these tower, and this is what we wish we had back in the day, because this is pretty much how most of the rigs I've seen lately, the last few years, in either a club or wedding venues, that kind of thing. This is a cheap one, a Behringer. And again, if you look at the 56 hertz to 17K hertz, might not have the dynamic range that you're looking for. But the really cool part, besides kind of a small price tag on it, is it breaks down. And you can see that on the bottom there is the amp. So I don't know if you can see my cursor or not, but the amp is on the bottom down here. The mixer is in the bottom down here. You put these columns assemble on top, and you've got a number of speakers in here. So it's got this one in this case has an 8-inch subwoofer, and then it's got 4 2 and 3/4 inch tweeters, and they point different directions, so it kind of fills the venue a little bit more rather than just all the sound going forward. Again, a real reasonable price. I would probably want to hear it before I bought it. I don't know that I'd buy it on sight unseen, but real reasonable price. So now let's look at another one. This is a Mackie, a little bit better known brand. And, again, pretty nice range, right? 40 hertz to 20 kilohertz. It again packs down into a bag and probably weighs somewhere around, I'm going to guess around 30, 35 pounds at the most. Again, kind of built like the last one, but with a little bit better specs. 10-inch subwoofer, and then 6 2-inch, what they call line array, and then a 6-channel mixer. And like again, one of those is going to be about Bluetooth streaming, and then you can control it through an app, or you can tweak some knobs on the back of it. It also has onboard reverb, or reverb, if you are looking for that. Michael will show you some reasons why it maybe doesn't matter, because you can do other things to get that reverb, but still an interesting thing, and a really not significant price point at this point. I picked this one just because I'm a Fender fan and I wanted to see what they had. This is 375 watts. It's got 5 mic line inputs, and again, pretty nice specs, 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. You're going to get some nice lows out of this. And this happens to be a bundle, right? It comes with a microphone and some stands, and so I thought that was intriguing. The thing about this is everything, that mixer and the 2 speakers, all go together into what you see on the left-hand side here with a carry handle. So you can walk in with that and a bag over your shoulder with a couple of stands and put it together, and away you go. And they've actually got some what I would say is some automagic things. You can kind of tell it what venue you're in, how what size it is, etc. And again, it's got 1/4 inch and XLR inputs, and a lot more channels than some of the cheaper ones that we've looked at. And then you get to the high end.
I've seen a duet with that Passport, with that Fender. What an excellent sound it was.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Even the bottom end was just booming.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you get up into more high end, right? And I decided that was anything over $2,000. Again, I kind of picked this at random. But 40 hertz to 20 kilohertz. What I found interesting is they made a big deal out of the fact that this tower can be daisy chained. And I think a lot of the higher end towers can be. So you could do a couple things, right? You could fill the room up with 3, 4, 6 of these speakers around the room. Although it is a 1,000 watt portable system, you could fill the room up with more than one of these. You could run true stereo through it if you wanted to. Or in the case of, I think a lot of venues, people mix basically and do everything in mono because you want everybody to hear the same thing. It's sort of like when you go to a concert these days. There's really no stereo going on. It's just all mono coming out of the speakers. And that's kind of the end of my exploration. And again, to me, it's like, what do you want to do? Do you have a small group? Are you playing jazz, which is not going to be as loud as rock and roll? Are you kind of a folk group? Is it just you and by yourself, or is it you and one other person? All these things contribute to what you might want to invest in. So there ends my tour of what I saw on the web.
Cool. That was nice, John. Thank you.
Thank you.
And what was great now that we have Randy on, Randy, where are you? There you are. You can unmute your mic there, Mr. Randy. You're muted, buddy. There you go.
I don't
So,
know. I figure that out every time.
so Randy's band, he played last night with a new. You said you had the Evo or the Evolve system, right?
Yeah, Electro Voice Evolve 50M.
The one that John just showed.
It was just like it or exactly like it. I wasn't sure. I couldn't read all of it, but I think it was the same one. 100 watts, very portable. That's, these days that's important to me, that's for sure. Has 8 channels.
And what'd you think of the performance of it?
Well, it came across good. We have 4 singers, actually 5 singers, counting our leader. And she's a female and does a lot of female-based songs from the 60s and 70s. And the band can tend to be too loud at times, so we got the PA can get loud enough to project her voice and the other voices as well. And plus, it does have Bluetooth, and it comes apart. It's like these others that you just saw, the 12-inch woofer box, and then the stack of speakers that you can put on top of it. And $2,400, a little bit more than that.
Did it have 2 columns or just 1 column?
Just the one,
Just the one.
Just like we were just looking at. It just has the box and the post sticking out of it with tweeters in it.
I'm curious how big. Excuse me. How big was the venue?
Oh, it was just a what would I call it? An academic classroom type of thing.
Okay.
Not very big at all.
All right.
And this isn't a really. I mean, it's 100 watts. It isn't huge, but it does good enough for a little small corner bar or a organizational having a private party, with some vocalists, stuff like that. It could be used in those kind of things. I wouldn't think it would be big enough for other things, like in a school gymnasium, stuff like that.
The Bluetooth option, were you using a tablet or anything to control the mixer, or you just controlled the mixer manually?
We just did it manually at this point. We haven't quite got used to all the features and what to do exactly with a Bluetooth thing. I guess you can run the mixer part from your telephone.
Or probably put in music, interlude music between your sets, or backing track. Now, one thing I forgot to get a slide of was the X Air Behringer's offering. It's a Bluetooth mixer that you have everything on your tablet, fully controllable for your effects rack.
Right.
You can put subs and sub mixes into it. I mean, it's just really functional, and it's really not that bad. You do have to have a power amp or 2 with it,
right?
But that you can actually just use with a tablet, and it's amazing what it could do. And you could set up all your mixes. You can actually, each individual in the band can use their phone or tablet to operate their own monitor mix.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a pretty crazy little system, and I should have brought it up, but I didn't want to get too complicated either to what we're doing, because we're just looking for basic PA here. So at this juncture, we have the one and only, who we would never have. We can't do this without you, Michael. You are just the most amazing
You're right. I am
person.
absolutely one
He's-
and
he's
only.
our-
I'm not sure that's a good thing, but
He's-
maybe
he's
maybe it
our-
is a good thing that there's only one of me.
He's our brain trust over here. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Michael O'Connell.
Well, okay. So good morning, almost lunchtime from Seattle. So we have let me see, cloudy, rainy weather. Guess what? It's Seattle. All right, so let me give you a little background. I started performing, 60 years ago. For the vast majority of the time I performed, I was an acoustic guitarist and vocalist. And then in the last few years, I picked up some pedals, a vocal processing pedal. I have, it's a couple of guitar pedals to enhance the guitar sound on the acoustic. And then the last couple of years ago, I picked up electric, and so I've been doing some of that. And I do a lot of busking. So for me, outdoors is probably my primary venue, small venues otherwise. And so I'm just kind of tucking things together this year to get ready to perform outdoors again. So, and in Seattle with the rain, we get 3 days a year we can do that. So I better be ready when they happen. Anyway, but what I wanted to do is show you a little system. And I say little, it's not tiny, but it's portable, that I currently use, and I'll tell you how I evolved to it. So this is, let me share this with you. Go to Zoom, go to sharing, and I am going to share that. Okay, so you're going to hear something else. You're going to hear my voice has a little reverb to it, and that's from something I'll show you in a minute. But what you're looking at is my basic setup, my touring setup in essence. On the floor, you see a pedal board. On the right, you see that yellowish sort of screen. That's my iPad that controls everything. And then in front of you directly, you'll see my PA system, and then you'll see my subwoofer that I just acquired underneath it. I used to have a pedal board full of pedals. I had multiple pedal boards. I still got another one over there for just craziness. But this one, as I explain my setup, you'll understand why I went this way. Okay, let me go to. All right, so this is the column system PA that I use. It's a JBL Eon 1 MK2. I think it's about a peak 1500 watt system, but that's not important to me, and you'll understand why in a minute. And below it is the EXM subwoofer, and that's dual 8s in there. I'll explain that to you in a minute. And then this column that you see coming off the JBL has both an extension on the bottom, a battery pack in the middle, and 8 tweeters up on top that are multi-directional tweeters. I went with that system because it's battery powered. I can run for 4 to 5 hours simply standalone, no cables plugged into power, and that was my criteria for all of this. The EXM mobile sub is also battery powered. I can get about 5 hours of performance out of that. That was my criteria for that. There are larger subs, deeper, although I didn't need deeper bass, if you want to call it that, higher sound pressure levels, but they all plugged in, so that was out of the question. Just to show you what I do, I use a little app on here, and this is a typical song setup. I haven't modified this in a while, but you'll see I have, it's Taylor acoustic guitar, what volume I put the guitar to, whether this is a finger-picked or flat-picked song, where to put the capo, because I can never remember that, and then when do I start my drum bass, and I will play those backing tracks for you, and then for the synth, and I haven't used synth in this new setup, but I would have when does the synth start and how do I control it? In this case, it's a volume or an expression pedal. So I don't use this anymore for reading music. I've got everything in my head, except maybe the starting chord on a bad day. So that's my control. Now this sends, and I'm going to go back here real quick. This sends one MIDI, M-I-D-I signal to this MIDI controller. And that MIDI control, this pedal here, and I'll show you that in just a second. Let me go this way. That pedal, you can see something called stopped. You can see, what does this say? Pattern bud. So I press this button and magic happens. When I start a song, this is what I touch. This is my audio interface sitting on the board. That's a tuner. That's a looper. This is an expression pedal, not a volume pedal. There's a difference. This tray is where I put my MacBook, because as you'll see, everything, literally everything, runs on my MacBook. I have no other pedals than what you see here. And so when I touch this, it sends, so the little iPad sends a MIDI signal to this, which sets up the song. Then I touch this, and I'll show you where that comes into play. And so the criteria for everything was battery powered, and I used to play with just this JBL you see on top, but I wasn't, because it's outside, I was losing bass. Bass bleeds off, the thump, the kick, or the bass guitar bleeds off very fast in an outdoor environment. That's why I put this subwoofer in place. Okay. Let's see. So those are the pictures. All right. So when I take my MacBook and drop it onto that pedal board, this is just a sample. I have a whole set of multiple sets of songs that are listed on the left. But you're looking at Mainstage, which comes from Apple. It's about $30 or $40 if you want to buy it, once and not upgrade it. You can get it under subscription as well. So in this case, you'll see something called EQ Demo on the left, if you can see that. And I can't make the text bigger. In the middle, you'll see controls that actually, this is not how my performance setup looks, but each of these things can be controlled by a MIDI controller, either on a keyboard or a foot switch. Or I have an automated MIDI track that sends the MIDI signals to things as they need to happen while the song is playing. So I don't even have to step on any buttons for that. And then you'll understand what that means in just a second here. But on the right side, you see these channel strips with a fader at the bottom. And so these are basically, think of them as volume, although it's signal strength really. And you can see how this one keeps bouncing up and down because I'm speaking into it. That's the vocal track. And so it goes through my audio interface. The signal ends up in here in something called auto-tune. These are all plugins. And this is the beauty of using software, is I don't have to have any hardware to do this. I don't buy any more pedals. I don't have effects pedals. I have none of that. But this is auto-tune. Very popular in studios nowadays for singers that may go off a little bit. This one is a vocal EQ. I'll just open that for you. It dynamically processes my vocals, and it EQs. You see this number 3 moving around? It's EQing for that harmonic for me on the fly. So as my pitch changes, it EQs accordingly. That's the dominant frequency. I have a little tube warmer that warms it up, my vocals, and I can put that on a guitar. I can put it on anything. Think of a tube amp and why those were beautiful and still are. And then I have something called Capitol Chambers, which is literally modeling for Capitol Records recording studio chambers underneath their building where all the famous artists still record. This happens to be one of their reverb chambers, right? And so they model those, they put them into software, and you can drop them in here. And then this guy is what I'm going to use. I don't use it for performance, but I'll show you this because it's easier to see the frequencies for my voice. And I'm going to drop that tiny bit because I'm breaking up. Okay. So if you look at my vocal range here, as I speak, it's going from anywhere, 100, really 120 hertz, right, all the way up to 20 kilohertz at the high end. Because voice has a ton of noise in it, overtones, frequencies basically. And so what you want to do when you're thinking of a PA, and I'm not going to get into how do you EQ a voice in this presentation, but if you're looking for a PA for your voice, there you go. As long as it can cover 100 hertz, all the way up to 20 kilohertz, although really 10 is more than adequate, then your PA can handle your voice. And I will say this, that for everything I show you, most of the PAs I suspect that John presented to you can do this readily. You don't even have to think about frequencies, because most of them are designed for exactly this, vocals and guitar. Then I'll show you what else happens. So this is my guitar channel or channel strip. You notice there's nothing happening right now, so let me pick up my electric. So you can see I'll just keep playing G. Now, if you look at the left side of that bottom grid on the corner bottom left, you see that's jumping down into, let's say, 90. I mean, it really is, it goes down to 60. And you see it goes up to 2 kilohertz, 20 kilohertz rather. So if you're playing an acoustic guitar, it doesn't make a difference. The E string is about 82. The peak of the E, the primary frequency on the E string is about 82 or 83, I think, hertz. So as long as your system can handle that, right, go down that far, which these all will, then you can play an acoustic guitar and you can sing very comfortably. And all you're dealing with now is how much, I'll use the word volume loosely, but how much sound pressure does the speakers, does the cabinet and the speakers produce for for these two things, right, guitar and vocals. And so literally any of those systems will do something good with your guitars and your vocals. The differences come into play in terms of when you look at wattage. Wattage is not volume, but think of wattage as how much signal you can push through the system. And then volume is how much sound you want coming out. But let's say you've got you want to sing loud, you want to play your guitar loud, and you've got a 50-watt system. There's not a lot of headroom for you to push your guitar or push your vocals. You're going to bump into the limits of the system, and so your signal is going to start to break up. If you've got a 1,000-watt system, then you can think of it like this. I'm going to take my vocals on the left. Let's do this. So these are my vocals on the top left. You notice how the peaks are running out of the EQ? This is just a visual demonstration. It doesn't affect the signal at all. But think of a 50-watt or a 25-watt system. This is what you get when you try to get loud, as opposed to a kilowatt, a 500-watt system. This is what you get when you try to go loud. So you have all this headroom above your signal, so that you can cleanly boost the volume if you need to. That's what wattage does for you technically. Now, we're going to demonstrate sound pressure in a minute, but let's go ahead and leave that behind, because I'm going to open up, I'm going to show you here, the third channel strip from the left is a drum track, and it literally plays an audio file that I created in Logic Pro using a drum machine for this song. And so when I push that little button on my MIDI pedal that I showed you earlier, it starts the drum track and the bass track playing. So let me do that for you. Okay, so you should be hearing drum and bass. Now you're going to see the EQ on the vocals start to activate, because you're also hearing those from my monitors on my desktop here into the microphone. So I'm gonna kind of tell you to ignore what that looks like right now. And I'm going to open up for the drum track. This is the signal. Whoops, this volume for the drums. So you can see down here, I am now the kick, right? That big right bump is down at about 55 hertz. The peak of it is. And then again, this goes up. The cymbals are really active up here, right, in the higher range. The mids are where most of the drums and the sound is coming from, right here in the middle. But I want you to notice something, that on the left upper, let's go to vocals again. With this voice, I'm in 100s. Here I'm in 50s. In terms of signal separation, my bass kick drum, right, is not going to interfere with my vocals. Not directly, and I'll explain that in a little bit here. It's also not going to interfere with my guitar too much, but look at that. My guitar goes down to 80, it's down here at 60 with it, but you notice it's a mountain, right? It's a hill. So it tails off to the right, it tails off to the left. So there is some signal interference between the drums and my guitar. And the thing that, even if you're not EQing it, the thing that helps you to separate those two signals with your ear is the timbre of the guitar versus the timbre of the drum. The timbre is the type of the quality of the sound, right? Does it sound squeaky? Does it sound poopy? Does it sound right? That differentiates those for your ear, even though they're in the same frequency. But there's a whole ton of stuff you do to EQ so that you can get your vocals above these kinds of things. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mute that and just go to the bass and open up. Oops, let's go. We're not going to. Okay, so let's mute the drums, open up. Oops, mute the drums. So, and I'm not sure. Oh, I know. What's going on. Hold on. Let's just go here. Get rid of that. Good. We're going to solo the bass, and I'm going to open up the EQ for the bass for you. So that's on the bottom right of your screen. All right. So your fundamental frequency, it's bouncing around here a little bit. I'm going to reduce this so you can see the full top of the signal. The fundamental frequency here is around 110, 120. It will go down to 80 something because it's the bass E on the guitar. And you notice, though, you can see if I superimpose the drum, and this is where you get a little bit muddy, is, the kick, which I'm not playing for you, is here in the 60 or so range. So if I were playing lower notes on the bass guitar, then you'd see that signal peaking here as well. All right, but if you look at the drums, again, if you look at it 50, 40 hertz, 30 hertz, you still got the kick coming in. I'm going to start that up again. Oh, not going to play for me right now. My keyboard sometimes drops out. And if you notice the bass, it's down here in the same range as my acoustic. So, you're looking at 60 plus hertz for the bass or so. And so you see, okay, so now I'm not going to play with my, a bass or a guitar or a drum set. So this is fine on the left, right? 60 hertz, right? And above. But if as soon as I bring a bass guitar in or a drum set, then I need to get down lower in frequency response. And so that's kind of the key takeaway here. If you're playing backing tracks, then you may need something more than what a less expensive PA will play. And I'm going to close these out. Okay, so when we think about frequency, that's only one aspect of it. The real key here is sound pressure level, or what they call SPL for short. And that is how much air can you move from your speaker system. And the other thing is how accurately can you expect a small PA with a small set of speakers in one cabinet to reproduce all of the frequencies and timbres that you're going to be playing through that system. And so you'll find that if you have even with an 8-inch or a 10-inch speaker in a small PA, there's only so much it can do with complexity that you saw in all four of those. I'm not talking about guitar and vocals, but if you add drum and bass. Before, what happens is they call it muddies everything. You start to lose the clarity of different frequencies, different, the drum beats, different bass notes. They start to interfere with your, as the sound reverberates in the cabinet, it interferes with your vocals. Your vocals start sounding muddied. And so when you want to go with a system that has the bass response, and I'm going to demo that for you in just a second. I went from my JBL, which has a frequency response of 37 hertz, but I went from that to the subwoofer because if I pushed my JBL fully, it would muddy everything. I could still hear my cymbals and my, and the higher notes on the guitar. So I added the bass, the subwoofer, just to separate those heavy core bass beats from the rest of my signal. So now I have two 8-inch speakers in my subwoofer specifically designed to push a heck of a lot of air out the front of the cabinet. And then everything above 100 hertz, which is called the crossover frequency between the two, is going to be coming out of my JBL. And that cleaned up my low-end guitar, it cleaned up my vocals, and it certainly gave me a heck of a lot more oomph on the drums and the bass. So I'm just going to go ahead and let me go ahead and unmute that and unsolo this. I'm going to go ahead and just play the drums for you through my PA and point the mic at it, and you'll hear what you get out of a subwoofer and a full range PA. So let's just see here. Boom, thump, the really deep thump. That's the subwoofer kicking in. Before that, I could hear the bass, the kick drum, but it was thin, right? The JBL could not produce the same thump that kick drum needed to have, and so I put in the subwoofer. All right, I'm going to go for the bass for you real quick, and you can hear that. And if you heard any rattle, it's the gear in the room on the shelf that's rattling from the subwoofer. So essentially what that does, and the crossover frequency is basically what in those EQ charts that I showed you, anything below 100 hertz is going directly to my powered subwoofer, and it's not being played by the JBL, and you set that in the JBL itself. So I have one cable that goes into my JBL. I mix it, I EQ it, I put separate reverbs or master reverb within main stage. So all of my, what you might think of as digital signal processing happens here. My JBL, I have one cable going in because it's fully mixed now, and it's like going one cable to a mixer board and a PA. And that JBL now is flat EQ'd. I don't EQ within, even though it has all of this crazy signal processing capability, I just flatten it out because all my mixing and my EQing is done here in main stage. And so that then is a cable that runs between my JBL and the subwoofer, and it's simply passing through only the signal below 100 hertz to the subwoofer. The subwoofer has no DSP, no digital signal processing. I can't EQ it. I can't do anything else. Don't need to because I'm doing it right here within main stage. I could have gotten one with that capability, and this actually has two inputs to it, and I can feed signal up to another PA system. But I did that because I needed battery powered and I needed portable. So I can carry those two pieces of gear around. I could actually do it one in each hand because they're like 35 pounds and 40 pounds. If I wanted to get a giant subwoofer, with 12-inch speakers, I couldn't have carried it, and it wouldn't have been battery powered. But the system you're seeing here can easily flood, a few hundred square feet of a public space. It can easily fill any little club you're playing in or medium-sized, a sort of small and medium-sized venue that you're playing in. Battery-powered, portable, and fully capable to handle anything that most of us can throw at it except, big bands, right, and high-volume rock. Okay. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Wow, thank you, Michael. Can you unshare, please?
Yeah. Oh no, I like sharing.
Also, your mic got really hot when you took that. You took your wind cover off.
Yeah, it falls off once in a while. So sorry about that.
Oh,
Yeah,
no
it was.
worries.
I had to turn it.
Good
Actually, I had to
microphone.
turn it down on my audio interface because I was breaking up. So yeah, that should be better now.
Yeah, well, uh, that's. I think we've covered the base for getting just a small PA system, whether it be a personal or a small performance PA. Anybody have any questions or comments? Please unmute yourself. Paul?
Do any of you that play experience, if you don't use like pedals, but you use like a digital, like a Helix platform or, a Line 6 platform where you're not using an amp and pedals, but you're using the digital, is there any difference you'd be considering with a PA system for that if you're going kind of non-amp, non-pedals?
So I started out. Well, the short answer is every speaker system. I'm going to call it that. Whether it's an amp with processing for or PA is going to sound like it. 6-inch speakers sound different than 12s. 12s sound different in different cabinets, right? And so I would say that there is no difference that I consider, because what ends up coming out of those, whether it's pedals or a rack or your MacBook, is a signal. Is an analog signal that gets processed by the PA system. And so the PA system is really what governs what you do with the signal, but there's no difference in the signal whether it's mimicked on a MacBook or whether it's coming out of a rack. If the MacBook software, if the plugins are modeling the same hardware correctly, then the signal should be the same. So that's not a consideration, even though I was playing through amps before and now a PA. I'd much rather have this PA system than the amps I was playing through.
Yeah.
I used to be a
Are you
Helix
asking
guy.
about being mic'd, Paul, or direct input?
So I used to be a Helix guy, and there was a lot of stuff in the community about you want FR speakers, full range, full response speakers, because anything else you're getting cabinet noises and
Yeah, I would think you would.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but again, it's signal processing, right? So you're still out of the Helix is still coming a signal. Now the Helix has some amazing, right, modeling in it, right? It's absolutely phenomenal. And so the fidelity of it is probably much higher than you might find from some budget pedals, for example. So in order to get that level of fidelity out of the sound that you're putting into it, you definitely want a good cabinet system, speaker system for it. PA, yeah. Yeah.
The speakers would have to be full range speakers.
Right.
No, just because I use basically my Spider is a Helix with an amp, and yeah, I agree. The way the amp is designed, it really does. It covers full range. The speakers that are in there, it's the whole thing is designed around that, being able to catch those responses from below 60 and above, and so the clarity is just amazing.
Yeah, I think of it like audiophiles with their sound systems for their their platters, right? Their spinning platters, right? The pure audiophiles, the signal's the same coming off of whatever it is you're putting into it. Whatever record you put on the turntable, the signal is the same, but the fidelity of the PA, the fidelity of the electronics that you're running it through, the amp, right? The speaker design, the tweaking of the speakers, right? Or the cabinet for the speakers, the tweaking of the speakers can come up with a very, very. When I mean fidelity, I mean you hear everything. you hear all of the little tiny notes that
Right.
were played at the time. And so PA systems really are, in a sense, similar in that you can get very high-end, speaker systems or PA systems that really have put a lot of engineering effort and cost into them. Or you can get something less expensive, and you won't hear everything. So the real question is, what's good enough for the audience, in a sense. But yeah, I completely agree. The more expense you put into what the audience listens to, the better it's going to sound, to a degree, right? To a degree.
It's amazing if you've been in a full sale studio, they'll have a listening room, and that listening room basically has a PA system in it. So you can hear back everything from the most bottom frequency to the highest frequency. And that's really what we're trying to do with our sound system, because you want to be able to have that clarity that your voice is putting out, and catch the harmonics that your guitar has, the subharmonics, as you're playing your guitar. It's the whole idea of trying to find something that's matched to the quality that you want. And you can get a reasonably priced sound system that will do just that. Did we lose Randy? I think we lost Randy.
I'm not sure. I don't see him. Yeah. So up to a point that, think of it this way: the most important thing that is going to come out of the PA is whatever quality you put into performing your music, whether it's your vocals or whether it's your guitar, the style, your accuracy, all of that is going to be the most critical factor. And I guarantee somebody will listen to that on a mediocre PA and go, this is really nice. Somebody's going to listen to a sloppy guitarist with a horrible vocalist on a best PA in the system and going to walk away, right?
And is it
So
going to make you sound?
is it going to make you sound any better, right? But more extensive PA. So work on your skills. That's the most important thing to do. Get the PA that fits the venues that you want to perform in, that covers the frequencies that you want, and then go with that.
Oh yeah, I've been to see some bands that all you're hearing is feedback all night long, and so that's another thing. Learn how to use the system that you do have.
Yeah. Don't try to outcompete each other on stage, because it just sounds horrible, right? Every instrument has a place, including the drums. I don't know if we can get drummers to realize that, but they have a place. They don't own the stage, right?
They think they do.
Yeah, I know.
I thought the other instruments were there to back up the guitarist, the lead guitarist.
Unless you're the vocalist, they're all for you.
Right.
I mean, one really good way of looking at mixing is listen to music, listen to rock, listen to pop. The vocals, gosh, 99% of the time, it's the vocals that stand out.
It is. It's always on top.
You want the vocals on top. Otherwise, and you want clear vocals. You don't want muddied vocals. You just listen to the radio with an ear to the mix. How loud are the drums? How loud's the bass? Right, everything else, and how loud are the vocals? Listen to the vocals. Are they crystal clear? Are they sort of a little bit subdued? Right. If you listen to music, any music, with that ear, you'll learn a lot about how to perform on your own, yourself, or how to record yourself.
Effects, putting in effects into the mix is another consideration when you're getting into your frequency responses and your clarity, because there are effects that can overdrive your signals.
Yep.
And especially if you have vocal effects going, they really can distort your voice, and so you're defeating the purpose. And every effect has a volume, and so you want to be able to learn to adjust that effects volume with the rest of the mix.
Can I do a quick share,
Yes, please.
Daniel? Okay.
Oh, there you go. Speaking of feedback.
Turn down the PA there. I'm just going to show you something. See this? So I've got my audio interface, and I've got it set at about medium signal strength. And if you look at the left side of the screen on the bottom, you'll see that bar bouncing up. Right, so this is actually the volume. I can push it, and look what happens to the bar. It bumps up to the top, and you see that 3.5 decibels above breaking up. So I've pushed it into the range where I've exceeded the wattage of the system in a sense, right? And now it's breaking up. And so if I do that on the audio interface and push the source signal, now it's going to break up terribly, right? There you go. And this is what happens when you overdrive a signal. Guitars could be really cool, vocals maybe, I don't know, it depends on whatever your genre is, but anyway, then I'll drop that down on my audio interface just to bring it back into
I've used voice effects like that, by the way.
Oh yeah, they have voice effects, but you can overdrive your voice and get some cool stuff. I am Iron Man.
Yeah.
Right. 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 There you go. Overdrive your voice. You'll sound like that. Like Black Sabbath.
And that's a subject for another day.
So it is. But yeah, since we were talking about it, I figured I'd throw it up there.
Next, Paul, you want to give any announcements? You got anything to say? Never mind. I lost my train of thought.
No, I mean just I put my cheat sheet away of our upcoming live events they're coming.
Oh well, I can do that. That's not an issue. Did you want to push that overdrive pedal at all today, or are we all good with that? Are we going to display that on CavArts?
It's going to be, yes, we're going to use your video that we did. I just waiting for like one more round of getting it through. I think we're retitling it and all that, and so we'll be ready for
that title I put on there was just a reference title for me when I was moving it around.
Have we done this in Guitar Shop before? Do you guys know about the overdrive pedal that we're part of?
We haven't. Did we do it? Yeah, we did it last week.
Right.
Or a week before.
So I tried to order mine when Matt, you ordered yours a couple days before mine, and I didn't hear anything, so I reached out to them, and Peter Dankelson's mother, who does customer service, emailed me back to say they've had a really good first run. So they're actually taking the orders, and the second run will start in May. So she said we'll be getting the pedal in May. Did you get yours, Matt?
No, I forgot to text you back. I did not get mine.
Okay,
mine
all right.
Also.
So this is it's been a fun project. I think we're looking at an initial run of 500. I'm assuming we're doing the second run because it exceeded that. Percentage of the proceeds go to Guitar Vets, and Daniel just helped me put together a video of Guitar Ambassador Ben Morrow playing the power drive. We shipped one out to him. He actually used it for a gig. And then it's about a 8-minute video of him kind of going through how he used it in combination with his other, his OCD drive, his other drive pedal.
Full tone OCD.
Talked about what amp he was using and what guitar he was using, and played a bunch of, was it an AC/DC song that he was playing? I can't remember.
Oh, Ben was doing Suck My Kiss.
Excuse me?
Yeah, that's
Suck
it.
My Kiss. Chili Peppers.
Chili Peppers, that's it. So Daniel did a really nice job of putting a front piece on it, a back piece on it. We also had some video of Peter demoing it. Peter Dankelson is the instrumentalist and also a G4V.
What an amazing
ambassador.
story it is, Paula. It really is.
Yeah, I mean,
the young
had,
man went through and
overcome a lot of medical issues, and he's an amazing, loves his SGs. I think that's the only thing I've seen him ever play is Gibson SGs, and so we're excited
that some good instructors too.
We're excited that first round sold so well. So you'll be seeing, we'll drop your video in CavArt as soon as we can, Dan.
So let's see, Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, we have Guitar Brigade. They're going to be doing a breakdown of Taxman. And it's a study in sevenths. using the 7 chords. So I'm looking forward to that one especially. I kind of like, how they're presenting it and the intervals. It's an unusual interval if y'all are into that. And then John comes up with the Guitar for Vets workbench. What do we got in store there, John?
Well, Matt and I have to still talk to see what Matt's going to be doing, but I'm going to be showing a build video concentrating on basically how I used to design my guitars from the ground up, and how I do it now. So, sort of pattern building for the bodies and the necks. And then it's actually about a 15-minute video that I'll walk through, and you'll see me building. It's actually several guitars, but there'll be a finished guitar at the end of it.
Matt, can you show us a treble bleed?
I'm hoping to continue on with part of the soldering series that we kind of started last month to show some soldering stuff. And yeah, we'll do. I've got a Telecaster here that needs a treble bleed in it, so I was thinking about trying to do a video on that and we'd be able to play that.
Wonderful.
Great.
Okay, and then let's see. Week after, we have Paul and I together again for office hours, and we encourage event coaches to be on with that. And then this is bluegrass. Oh God, I had it right in the tip of my tongue what
Wildflower.
Danny was going to be doing.
Wildflower.
Wildflower, yeah, a classic bluegrass song. So lots still going on, and then of course we start the beginning of the month again with iJam, and we do this all over again next month. We're going to, and Paul is going to be included in this one, right, Paul? This is going to be about the positive grid, the spark amps. I've seen a lot of, I did a poll, or actually not so much a poll, but asked about how many people had them. And I didn't realize how many people didn't know how to use it.
Yeah.
And so this is going to be an opportunity to get involved with that. You have one also, right, Michael?
Mark II.
Yeah. So we, whatever y'all can come up with. I do not have one. I've been interested in it, but like any one of us married guys, we have a wife to run interference sometimes. You got enough stuff. So anyway, I guess we'll end this thing up here really quick, and if y'all want to stick around after this, we can discuss some more. So thank you all for joining us. Remember, you can pick your guitar for health and happiness. Guitar for Vets is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma through our unique 10-week structured guitar instruction program, putting the healing power of music in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. To all I say, namaste and be well.